What's up, everybody? Welcome back to episode 90 of season 2 of Go Talk with Marcus, powered by PodDecks, fueled by Go Fuel. Once again, joining me on the show is my good friends TV and Jay of the Hit Your Free Throws pod. What's up, fellas? How we doing tonight?
Doing good, boss. How about you?
Can't complain at all.
Doing good. Excited to talk to some NBA basketball.
There's a lot to talk about.
Yep.
As always, it kind of seems like you guys know this from having put shows together. Like, you kind of have your show together, and then something always happens right before the show is supposed to start. That is the case today because Kyrie Irving has officially requested a trade out of the Brooklyn Nets. Jay, I'll start with you. What was your visceral reaction to Kyrie wanting out of Brooklyn?
So I was in work, so I had to dial it back a little bit because obviously I was literally in the middle of ringing somebody up. But I cannot believe that it took place because of the fact that when you look at the framework of this season, it just seemed as though everything was starting to slowly work itself back into the right direction for the Brooklyn Nets. Even when you look at the circumstance of Kevin Durant being down due to injury, the Brooklyn Nets were one of the hottest teams towards the back end of of last year, coming into obviously the new year with a really solid record. And they just were playing much better basketball. And Jacques Vaughn is one of those guys that's been in contention for Coach of the Year. It just seemed like everything has been, I don't want to say a perfect scenario as of late for Brooklyn, but somewhere in the ballpark of at least stable for a team that hasn't really sniffed stability in quite a long time. So for this to come out of nowhere like this, I understand it, and I think we'll probably get into the weeds of all of it in a little bit, but I think I understand the logic, but it's the mere fact that it took place that I still am having trouble wrapping my head around.
Go ahead, TV.
Do I want to say I'm surprised? I guess in the moment I was. Same thing with Jay. I found this out while I was at work. But then you realize it's Kyrie Irving. And when it comes to him and drama, everything happens at a drop of a dime. And this comes at probably the worst time for the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, Jay just mentioned it earlier. Yes, it was not a perfect situation in Brooklyn, but it started to turn around. I mean, ever since they got rid of Steve Nash, their team has looked a lot better, a lot more compatible. And a big part of that was, yes, Kevin Durant playing at a near MVP level, but Kyrie Irving not being a distraction, staying on the basketball court, and putting up all-star caliber numbers, which is why he deserved to be on the all-star team. But when it comes to this situation, I guess I was kind of surprised just because what is the reasoning behind this? This is what you always have to look at next. What's the reasoning behind this? And once you see the reports coming out about the Brooklyn Nets kind of trying to Kyrie-proof the contract in the sense where, for him to get his full money, he's going to have to play a certain amount of games. The Nets are going to have to win a championship, this and that. They tried to Kyrie-proof it. I could see the reason why he's upset. It's not really about the money for him, as I think it was reported earlier as well. It's about the fact that they don't trust him enough, and they have all the right not to trust him. But when you show that distrust, especially to a superstar player like a Kyrie Irving, you're going to burn down bridges. And this is what's happening right now. And now they have 4 or 5 days until a trade deadline to make something work. It's just really unfortunate timing, at least especially at this part of the Brooklyn Nets season.
I have notoriously been, and Jay knows this because I was one of the first times I was on this show. I had to spend 15 minutes defending Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving is a phenomenal talent. He's a phenomenal basketball player. And despite some of the things that he has said over the last 12 to 18 months, Kyrie Irving is not a bad person. Kyrie Irving has also made it relatively easy for people to villainize him within the NBA community, right? And we're always looking for that villain, that bad guy in the NBA. And Kyrie Irving has made it easy for him to be that guy. This isn't a good look. For a number of reasons. A lot of it has to do with the fact that the Nets seemingly have finally look like a contending basketball team over the past couple weeks. Kyrie Irving's been playing incredible basketball, as has Kevin Durant. KD missed some time because of injury. This has been This has been one of the better basketball teams over the last month or so of basketball. And Kyrie asking for a trade, whether it's because of the money, whether it's because he doesn't like to be there, don't want to be there anymore, whether it's because, as some people on Twitter think, whether he's just sick of losing to the Celtics, like whatever the reason is as to why Kyrie wants out of Brooklyn, the problem now doesn't necessarily lie on the fact that Kyrie wants out. It lies on the fact that the trade deadline is February 9th. Today's February 4th. Like, the Brooklyn Nets, if Kyrie really wants out, the Brooklyn Nets have 5 days to find someone that is going to trade away assets for Kyrie Irving, who, by the way, is scheduled to be a free agent by the end of the season. No one's going to want to do that. Like, no one's going to want to commit to Kyrie long-term because of all that's happened with Kyrie over the past couple months. Kyrie doesn't really know if he wants to commit to anyone for a long period of time, and he's going to be a free agent come July. I don't think there's any team in the NBA that's going to trade away assets for a player that has commitment issues and is probably not going to be on the roster come the summer. Not only that, the Nets don't have to trade Kyrie just because Kyrie wants out. So, like, Kyrie could be on this roster come February 10th. Is Kyrie not going to play the rest of the season because they want to be in Brooklyn anymore? Like, what the future of the Brooklyn Nets is up in the air, not just because Kyrie wants out, but because of the potential repercussions that could follow Kyrie not being traded, by the Nets saying, no, like, you're under contract with us, we're not trading you, you have to play. So with that being said, TV, what does the future of the Brooklyn Nets look like with or without Kyrie for the rest of the season?
Well, you mentioned it with like the trade packages. I mean, he's done at the end of the season. There's no guarantee for any team that does try and get Kyrie before the deadline that he is going to stay there. So for the Brooklyn Nets, what type of package are you going to get back? I mean, you're looking at teams that are in the mix right now. When you look at the Phoenix Suns, when you look at the Miami Heat, the Dallas Mavericks, the Los Angeles Lakers, you're not getting anywhere near equal value to the talent of Kyrie Irving. I mean, just an example. If you're going to make a trade with the Dallas Mavericks, what are you going to get back? THJ, Davis Bertans, potentially a couple second-round picks. That's the type of deal they're going to get for Kyrie Irving, just because they know it is at the very least, yes, it's like until the playoffs or whatever, but no one's going to give up significant assets, as you said. Now, with Kyrie Irving on the roster, you never know. You never know if he gets past the deadline, he's still on the Brooklyn Nets. We've seen him in the past threaten to just like hold out. And he could definitely well do that. Or he could be, just stay around, play it out, and just leave at the end of the season. But the Brooklyn Nets are playing with fire there because they don't want to just leave with nothing. But they are also in the midst of a final, like a contending run, a playoff run. So do they like really want to give up Kyrie Irving for very minimal players that are going to definitely decrease their chances significantly? Or they're going to keep him around and risk a chance that hopefully he stays committed enough to at least get us through this playoff run and potentially win us a championship. And with Kyrie Irving, you don't know if that's going to happen or not. So either way, the Brooklyn Nets are just in a tough situation. It's crazy how back a few years ago where they had him, James Harden, and Kevin Durant on the same team. And now very likely it's just going to end up being KD by the start of next season. So yeah, they're going to be in a tough situation nonetheless, especially because of the amount of draft picks they gave away. But this is what happens when you play with with players like Kyrie Irving, who are very polarizing and can really tip the scales either way.
Jaylon, you're a Bulls fan, and it's been reported that the Chicago Bulls may be interested in a potential trade for Kyrie Irving.
Oh boy!
You as a fan, let's like throw away like all your professional unbiasedness for a second. Like you as a fan, would you want to see Kyrie in Chicago?
Wait, we're like throwing professional
bias? Yes, throw away your professional bias, unbiased for a second, and just strictly as a fan, would you want Kyrie in Chicago?
All right, let's lift the mic. Let's commit. I'm gonna say yeah. I think the reason why I want to say yeah is because of the fact that right now we have kind of picked a direction without being very good enough to follow through with that direction all the way through. What do I mean by that? With the latest transactions that we've made, getting Alex Caruso, picking up DeMar DeRozan, trading for Nikola Vucevic, these are all moves that we made with the intentions of being able to take steps forward as a potential perennial playoff team. And one of the things that I realized last season, and I had to kind of put my professional biases aside, I also had to put my fandom aside and kind of just be a fly on the wall to other for other perspectives. And I continue to ask the question last season of, was last year our best case scenario in terms of looking like a competent basketball team? With the way everything went, DeMar DeRozan was a top 5 caliber MVP candidate with one of the best clutch statistical seasons we've seen in recent memory. Zach LaVine and him were both all-stars. We were one of the better defenses in the league for the beginning portion of the season, only to be rewarded by falling down to the 6th seed and facing the one team we probably wanted to see the least in the Milwaukee Bucks last year. And everybody confirmed for me the logic that, yeah, that probably is the best case scenario for this team and with the way things looked, and that the ceiling has already been reached, which is sick to know considering it's only been a one season commitment in terms of seeing what that looks like. Now with the Lonzo Ball injury that's basically plagued the entire season, it doesn't look like it's improving at all. Literally, Coach Billy Donovan has even confirmed that. Point guard has been the position we've heard at the most. Kobe White has been on the block. Ayo Dosunmu, of course, has been getting more time, but he's not somebody that we're going to ask to be a lead guard for what we hope to be a playoff caliber team. Alex Caruso has been in and out of the lineup due to injury, but at the same time, he's a guy that only can garner so much influence, especially on the offensive end as a ball handler. Kyrie Irving instantly makes this team much better with the way it's constructed. Now, the issue is that I don't necessarily know what Brooklyn wants, and I think this goes back to the question you asked TV, which is what is the fate of the Brooklyn Nets moving forward with or without Kyrie? Guess what? The truth is, with Kyrie Irving, he's going to have to play good soldier regardless, because at the end of the day, he has to display to the teams that are going to have cap space in the summer that he is going to play ball, because of the fact that if he doesn't, just because teams have cap space does not mean they need to sign him. That doesn't mean they're going to sign him into that cap space. Even more so, if you look at the teams that have significant cap space, most of those teams are not on the same kind of championship level trajectory that Kyrie Irving in his career is set towards at this time. So with that being the case, it makes the level of suitors even lower. Let's go back to before the season even started, when he was eligible to be a free agent and was forced to opt back in for the Brooklyn Nets this season. Why? Because the boy had no suitors. So with that being the case, he's only playing hardball with this trade request because he's trying to create leverage in order to get a long-term contract. And at the end of the day, that long-term contract is either going to come from the Brooklyn Nets or from the team that is willing to move assets enough to trade for him, because you're not going to trade for him without the anticipation of throwing him an extension probably around the time that you end up picking him up after the trade has gone through. So as a Bulls fan, I would like to see him on the team, of course, from a production standpoint, because we need to raise our ceiling at this point as much as humanly possible, considering that we have chosen a side in terms of what we want to do. I think that trying to trade Zach or trade DeMar is just taking steps back, precariously, considering the fact that after one season, it seems like everything is falling on his face. We've made this commitment. We've literally put draft capital into it. At this point, we are kind of in this bed, and now we have to lie in it. I think the best thing that we can do now is try our best to go at disgruntled talent that we think will be able to produce. So yeah, I would like to see him on the Bulls, but I think it's going to come with a lot of caveats, and the Nets are in a really tough position for themselves, because whatever they decide to do in a Kyrie Irving trade is directly affected by what they feel like the temperature of Kevin Durant is. If Kevin Durant thinks he's going to stick around, then you need to trade for players that can produce today. If Kevin Durant thinks he's going to follow in terms of the trade request, you need to be looking for draft capital. So the first thing they need to do before worrying about the trade deadline is figuring out what the temperature of Kevin Durant is. That's going to determine everything anyway.
I think this might be a stretch, but I'm a WNBA fan, and I'm a fan of Kevin Durant. And given Kevin Durant's excitement for the likes of Breonna Stewart and John Quill Jones and Courtney Vandersloot to have joined the New York Liberty, who happen to also play in the same building that the Nets play. I don't think KD wants to leave. Like, I think KD is excited to stick around and kind of see that. He's advocated for that a lot over the past couple months. WNBA free agency started a couple days ago. Here's the thing, right? Because you mentioned cap space, so I kind of looked it up and I projected for next season. So if you're looking at cap space for next season, or if you look at cap space right now, right? There's only 4 teams right now today that have a positive amount of cap space.
Yeah.
There's only 1 team in the NBA right now that has over $10 million in cap space. That's the San Antonio Spurs. Okay.
Yep.
So Kyrie doesn't want to go to the Spurs. If we project and say at the end of the season, the players that are expected to leave or whatever, that list of teams with cap space does grow. It grows a lot. It goes from 4 to 10. The teams on that list are Houston, Indiana, Detroit, San Antonio, OKC, Orlando, Charlotte, Utah, Memphis, Sacramento. There's a couple more on there. Cleveland, Chicago, and Portland, and the Lakers. So, like, the only teams on that list that you look at and you say, this is a team that you could that could sign Kyrie in free agency and get better as far as contending is really none of them. Like, it's actually none of them. It's actually none of them. Like, you look at this, you look at the Spurs, the Rockets, the Pistons, the Magic. You're not going to compete there. You don't want to go to Charlotte. You're not going to be able to win a championship in Charlotte. Indiana's not going to go get him because they love what Tyrese Halliburton's doing so far, and that would only potentially make things worse and get him off the ball. And that's not what he wants. He thrives being on the ball. Is Kyrie going to want to go to Sacramento? No. Is Sacramento going to want Kyrie? Definitely not, because the Sacramento Kings have one of the most exciting teams to watch this season, despite the fact that they don't win many games. But just the aura around the Kings is phenomenal. He's going to go to Portland? No. They have Dame. He's going to go to Memphis? No. They have Ja. He's not going to go to Cleveland. They've got DG and Donovan Mitchell. And as much as potentially a thing in Chicago could work, Chicago's problem really isn't the lack of a lead guard. Chicago's problem is consistency offensively and consistently defensively. Like, there's no one on that team that's consistently that is consistent, specifically defensively, for an extended period of time, to the point where you can look at that team and say, this is a team that can make a deep run in the playoffs and contend for a championship. So the only other team on this list that has any type of positive cap space where Kyrie could go and potentially win a championship, unironically, is the team he's on right now. It's the Brooklyn Nets. Like, that's it. You cannot, Kyrie Irving, unfortunately, because of the fact that he is, like, Kyrie's greatest strength is also his greatest weakness. Kyrie Irving walks to the beat of his own drum. He doesn't care what anybody thinks, doesn't care what anybody feels. All he cares about is just living in his own bubble and doing things his way. And there's nothing wrong with that. It is a commendable quality. Unfortunately for Kyrie Irving, there are 30 teams. Yeah, there are 30 teams in the NBA that have decision makers who might look at that and say, yeah, you walking to the beat of your own drum is not something I want to pay you millions of dollars for, to come out here and pick and choose when you want to play, when you don't want to play. I respect Kyrie. I love watching Kyrie play basketball. When Kyrie shows up and plays basketball, he is great. Hence the reason why he's an all-star. He deserves it. But Kyrie Irving could potentially talk himself, behave himself out of the NBA. Because if he doesn't get traded, to your point, he has to play. He can't not play. He can't not play. He can't not play. I mean, he could not play, but that wouldn't be good if he doesn't play. Mm-hmm. And if he hits free agency come July, no one's gonna want him. Not a contender or not a young team that wants to build up and kind of bring in a leader. So, like, Kyrie is in purgatory right now. And I feel for Kyrie because he's super duper talented. And I do think a lot of times Kyrie is misunderstood because of the things that he says and because of the things that he does. And I think a lot of times we look at what Kyrie says and we let that overshadow some of the great things he's done for the communities, for the teams he's been a part of, and just as a person in general. But this, demanding a trade or requesting a trade rather, is not a good look when your team's playing well, when you're playing well, when Kevin Durant, who's your boy, he's listed, he said he's your best friend. You said you said he's your best friend. He said you're his best friend. He's playing great. Y'all are looking like a team that could be reckoned with in the East as long as you don't run up against the Celtics. It's just not a good look all the way around for Kyrie. So,
Marcus, can I just ask you a question, bro? Yeah, can I just ask you a question that just plays off of everything you just said? Name the last significant thing from a positive perspective on the basketball court that Kyrie Irving has done since 2016.
the last thing Kyrie Irving did positively on the basketball court. I mean, they won a playoff series a couple years ago. Like,
Yeah.
I think, yeah, they won a playoff series.
He wasn't there.
Yeah.
He wasn't there.
I only ask you that question because at the end of the day, despite the fact that I enjoy this play by Kyrie Irving from a leverage standpoint, and I even mentioned that when I had posted on Instagram my initial reaction, from a business perspective, I completely support the idea of making this play because he is at the age where this last contract that he's making a push for is probably the last significant contract he is going to be able to receive. So it makes the most sense for him to try to maximize whatever that looks like while he has the chance. Coming off of being one of the lead vote getters, and not even just in the Eastern Conference, but in the entire NBA at the guard position, heading into the All-Star selections, definitely helps you in that regard. Being one of the best talents in the NBA definitely helps you in that regard. But tell me something in the last 7 years from a productivity standpoint that warrants anybody to truly believe that there is anything worth moving heaven or earth for, or simply committing long-term capital to when it comes to somebody like Kyrie Irving. When you factor in not even just on the court productivity, which there's a lot less of that over the last 7 years because of injury and simply self-inflicted things, but also you throw on top of that the fact that when you look at the set of circumstances, like I said, over the last 7 years, the man's not even playing winning basketball long term enough to get enough of a temperature on him. So I think that's why the reason why I asked that is just because I think that, well, first of all, the next time I hear somebody bring up he hit the shot in 2016, I'm literally gonna scream because like if that's carrying Kyrie's legacy, then like
It's a pretty damn good
this thing
shot.
this thing is really holding on
Greatest
by a
shots of all
thread.
time. I mean,
It's one of the greatest shots of all time, and it's one of those things that is basically one of the only things outside of him being like the biggest bad guy in the NBA that keeps Kyrie relevant. That's one of the only things that truly keeps him relevant on a season to season basis, because every time we talk about the chance he gives a team to win a championship, he plays like 35 games and we don't really get a full sample size of what that even looks like. And then when it comes to championship caliber basketball, he's either injured or off the floor. So like I said, over the last 7 years, the temperature is cool at best on what we know Kyrie Irving can provide. The talent, I'm at the point there now where like I think the narrative and the talent are not on the same level. I feel like the talent is there, but the narrative around him is carrying. And the lore of Kyrie Irving is carrying the overall belief in what it is Kyrie Irving brings to a basketball team, more so than the talent at this point. The talent is definitive, but the sample size for that in comparison to everything else, I think it's starting to get kind of outweighed. I'm love Kyrie Irving to death. Like I said, if we're talking about the Chicago Bulls acquiring him from a talent perspective, you're not going to hear me argue. But I mean, I don't know, man. From a legacy standpoint, Kyrie Irving is going to be one of the biggest enigmas to like really dissect post career, because like there's a lot of what if to his career. I feel like.
Well, if I could jump in, I think there's only like one team I feel like I can give him a chance, and
The
they don't mind it.
Lakers.
Not Dallas. You don't think Dallas is going to give up some pieces to try and get him in? I mean, like they
I
have
don't think
that.
they want Kyrie Irving.
I mean, they do, and Dorian Finney-Smith has actually been discussed as somebody they're willing to move if they can get a star caliber player. I think they think about it. But
I mean, they have not much to give up. I mean,
yeah, I was gonna say
the few big contracts they have: Tim Hardaway Jr., Dorian Finney-Smith. Who else is there? Dwight Powell, Davis Bertans. If you can move off 2 or 3 of those guys, a couple second round picks, I don't think they're gonna lose sleep over losing like a Josh Green or anything if they can get Kyrie Irving. Just someone to pair with Luka. Just someone to like at least give him a chance going forward. I don't know. That's the only other team. I mean, besides the Lakers, that's the only other team I see him give him a chance.
It's tough. It is the whole Kyrie Irving thing is tough. I think what's even tougher is the KD aspect of this, right? Because KD is a phenomenal basketball player. When he's healthy, he is a great basketball player. I have died on the hill several times, and I'm going to continue to be willing to die on the hill that Kevin Durant's the best player in basketball. It's fine. There's like 4 of us that think this in the world, and I'm one of them, and that's okay. But like Kevin Durant is just stuck. Like he's just kind of stuck in this constant. It's like when you're a kid and like you're like witnessing your parents argue right in front of you, and you're just like going like here and then here, and you're going back. It's like he just keeps watching this very aggressive, passive aggressive, like annoying tit for tat back and forth between Kyrie Irving and the decision makers in Brooklyn. I don't know what's next for KD. I don't know what's next for KD. And I'll say this, and I've said this on Jaylon's show. I think I've said it on TV show. I've said it on my show. I've said it on a bunch of other shows. This is what I don't want to happen. And I know it's going to happen because I've seen it already. But I don't want this to keep happening because it's not fair. Right? What we're not going to do is if Kyrie leaves or gets traded or leaves in the free agency or whatever, and this season doesn't result in a championship, what we're not going to do, KD haters, is get on Twitter, get on Instagram, get on Facebook, get on TikTok, get on whatever it is you want to get on and talk about how Kevin Durant's not this and Kevin Durant's not that and Kevin Durant still hasn't won a championship outside of Golden State. Because here's the thing. Kevin Durant's a top 5 player in basketball. Kevin Durant's great. Let's not forget Kevin Durant's been hurt a couple times, but Kevin Durant, when he's available, has been really the only reason why the Brooklyn Nets have been relevant in any sort of positive light. And I'm slightly nervous that if this season doesn't end in a championship for the Nets, which it won't, the end of the season is going to come and people are going to start talking about how KD still hasn't done anything outside of Golden State. And I just feel like in my heart of hearts that the next time I hear it, I'm actually liable to go on a killing spree because it's the laziest take ever. Like it's just the absolute laziest take. Like his first season outside of Golden State, he was hurt the entire season, didn't play at all. His very next season, he did something that in the history of the NBA at least had never been done before. He came back from an Achilles injury, and he played better than before he hurt his Achilles. And the Nets were winning football or basketball games, and they were in the driver's seat or they were betting favorites to win a championship. And then Kyrie Irving got hurt and didn't show up, and his foot was too big, and they lost. And then the very next season, well, they looked really, really bad against the Celtics last year. So, like, that's not good. But still, he played great basketball. Like, when Kevin Durant shows up and steps foot in between the lines on a basketball court, when he's going up and down those 94 feet, he's one of the best players to do it in the league. And I, as a fan of Kevin Durant, as someone that enjoys watching Kevin Durant play basketball, I am concerned for what this means for Kevin Durant moving forward, not just as a player on the court, but like you were saying, Jay, like how people are going to look at his legacy, because people are always trying to find ways to tarnish someone's legacy. And the thing they keep saying about Kevin Durant is, well, what has he done outside of Golden State? Mm-hmm. And all he's done outside of Golden State is, when available, be one of the best players in the NBA. And those around him have not been able to live up to their end of the bargain. And I think that it's very important that we do not allow the things that's going on with Kyrie Irving, the things that happened with James Harden, the things that was going on with Steve Nash and Joe Tsai and the entire organization to put a damper on really how great Kevin Durant has been since he's been in Brooklyn. Because let's face it, if Giannis had to put up with this and was doing what KD's been doing, if LeBron had to put up with this and do what KD's been doing, if Steph or any other superstar was doing what KD's been doing while having to put up with and deal with a lot of the confusion and a lot of the ups and downs that KD's had to deal with from the people around him, we would be singing their praise and talking about how great they are and then using this as a way to bolster their status and bolster their legacy, not just right now, but all the time. And we're not doing it with Kevin Durant. And now I'm off my soapbox. I just needed a spot in the show to get out one last KD rant before the season. So I felt like this was the time to do that. If either of you want to chime in on Kevin Durant's future, you're more than welcome to.
You go first, Stevie.
Well, I guess all I have to say is that in terms of Kevin Durant's like legacy, his all-time rankings, I'll say that it's not going to move it in terms of him going down. but it's also not going to help move it going up. I mean, yes, he has been fantastic over there in Brooklyn when he's on the floor, but the availability still in question. And I think like what sucks about this is that Kevin Durant hurt everyone when everyone was saying, "Oh, he can't do it without Steph. He can't do it without the Golden State Warriors." And he tried. He really did try to do it without them. Everything that came after that was just very, very unfortunate for him. And I do understand there's going to be some people that are going to try to bring him down because of that. I'm not going to be one of those people. I have him just outside my top 10. Nothing's going to change from that. But if there's anything, Marcus, even you can agree with me. Like, this is not helping his legacy. Like, this is not helping his legacy.
It's
like,
not hurting it either, though.
It shouldn't hurt it. It shouldn't hurt it. People are going to talk about this.
I guess when we're talking about when I say like helping or hurting his legacy, what I mean is when you look at when you look at and really sit down and you look at the timeline of things that happened from the beginning of Kevin Durant announcing he's going to Brooklyn until now, like how much of Brooklyn's failures has actually been on Kevin Durant? None of them. Like none of them. There's not if you are of the mindset that Kevin Durant choked in that overtime game against the Bucks when his foot was on the line and he went over whatever it was, he went over in the overtime game. Like, if you want to desperately hang on to that, that says a lot. That's the only thing anyone can desperately hold on to as it pertains to Kevin Durant coming up short. And of course, last season in the first round, against the Boston Celtics. But I think we've now realized since then that wasn't bad Nets. That was just great Celtics. Like the Celtics were just that good defensively. And I think because of how startlingly it was, we were so quick to kind of say that's unacceptable until they did the exact same thing to Giannis and they did the exact same thing to Jimmy Butler. And then they kind of did it to Steph and the boys in the Golden State for 2 nights and they got them 2 wins in the finals. And they've done it pretty much from the beginning to now with the season. But like, that was more so good Celtics than it was bad KD. But like, there's not much Kevin Durant has done since he's been in Brooklyn that you can look at and say the Brooklyn Nets have failed and it's because of this guy, right? But you can look at a bunch of other things around KD and say, well, like the coaching was bad and the decision making in the front office was bad, and like James Harden forced his way out and he probably wasn't in shape when he got there because he just forced his way out of Houston, and he still hadn't gotten in shape. And of course, obviously, the stuff with Kyrie with not wanting to get vaccinated and kind of like showing up when he wants to show up and all this other stuff being hurt and things like that. Like, there's not much Kevin Durant has done that has led to the demise of the Brooklyn Nets. And when I look at that and when I see that, what I'm saying is if this was a LeBron James or this was a Steph Curry or if this was a Giannis Antetokounmpo, like guys who for the most part aren't the reason why their teams are failing, right? We don't look at that and say, oh, that's a bad thing. That's why he's not this. That's why he's not that. So it's not necessarily that it's helping his legacy because it's not. It's more so that like this idea that Kevin Durant's time in Brooklyn has hurt his legacy more than anything else is hard for me to wrap my mind around because like, what else do you want him to do? Like really, what else do you want him to do when the players that he has around him isn't showing up, isn't playing well, is getting hurt, the coaching was bad. Like it's just he's done the best he can, and he's still been every time he steps on the floor one of the best 5 players in basketball.
Fair enough.
I mean, this is how much gravity Kevin Durant has. Every time he gets injured, things go very bad. Yeah. James Harden requests a trade out of Brooklyn after Kevin Durant goes down, and Kyrie Irving is still dealing with the vaccination situation. Kevin Durant is currently injured right now, and although things were steady for some time, of course, it was about time before something was about to happen. Zach Lewis said it best on his podcast in reaction to the Kyrie Irving news. Basically, the biggest thing that hurts Kevin Durant is every time that Kevin Durant gets hurt, something happens. And although he has no control over that, that's the insane thing about the stability that somebody of his caliber brings, which I think in a weird way kind of plays towards Marcus's point that the dude has basically done everything humanly possible to keep the Brooklyn Nets franchise on the straight and narrow. And I think that even includes when he made his own trade request, which in a way forced the front office to smell themselves and realize that if they're going to put together a championship caliber team, they have to go after guys on the veteran minimum like TJ Warren and put a flyer out. They need to commit to the idea that if Kyrie Irving comes back, they'll discuss at least the idea of an extension. Now, it might not be as friendly to Kyrie's liking as what he would have wanted, but it was one of those things that they were at least willing to consider, and so on and so forth. I think that when you look across the board, Kevin Durant really has done everything possible to be able to keep this franchise on the straight and narrow since actually suiting up for him. The reality is that every single time he gets hurt, that foundation gets broken down, and that ends up hurting the overall productivity. And unfortunately, because of the caliber of star power that's on this team, along with the championship aspirations, when you knock down a domino in the foundation, or you knock down any brick in the foundation of this setup, it ends up having detrimental results.
Yeah. Well, we don't know if Kyrie's going to be traded by February 9th, but we do know that there's probably some players that can be traded by the trade deadline. I think a lot of people thought that Miles Turner was going to be traded, but of course the Pacers not too long ago just recently locked him up on a deal. The renegotiation of his deal was the largest in NBA history. We recently saw Rui Hachimura get traded from the Wizards to the Lakers in a deal that involved Kendrick Nunn and 3 second-round picks. So, TV, who is most likely to be traded before the deadline, and where is he going?
Well, I'm going to do a package deal here because I'm going to be going over to my Toronto Raptors, and there's going to be 2 guys. I would be surprised if it's still going to be in the Toronto Raptors past the trade deadline, and that's going to be Gary Trent Jr. and OG Anunoby. I'm going to start with Gary Trent Jr. here. His contract is done at the end of the season, and as much as I do want to keep him as a Toronto Raptor fan, his contract needs are just not going to be met by the Toronto Raptors, especially with money tied into players like Fred VanVleet, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, of course, right now, and then upcoming contract extensions for Scotty Barnes and Precious Achiuwa. So his place is basically just like no longer guaranteed. He's basically just out of the door already. He's a great player, so I do see some teams trying to go for him, whether it be the Dallas Mavericks, whether it be a team like the Phoenix Suns who just need some more like potentially like outside scoring. I'd say the Dallas Mavericks more. I just don't know what the pieces coming back for him is, but I still do believe that he is going to be no longer a Toronto Raptor after this. There were some rumors a few weeks ago about him being in a deal, some sort of 3-team deal with Jakob Poeltl coming back to the Raptors, which I'd be open to just so we can get something in return for someone of the caliber of Gary Trent Jr. But I think that he is no longer going to be there just because I just don't think that the Raptors are willing to fork up that money. And he's going to be wanting like Jordan Poole, Tyler Hero type money, like very similar players to his vein. And I just don't think that the Raptors are going to be able to meet those needs. And then OG Anunoby. And as much as I want to keep him, I don't know if you guys know about this, but there's some stupid rule in the NBA salary cap where apparently you can only like offer 20% more of the extension that a player gets after their rookie deal. Mm-hmm. So OG Anunoby, after his rookie deal, signed a 4-year, $72 million contract with the Toronto Raptors. So according to that salary cap rule, the Raptors can give him a maximum 4 years and I think just under $100 million. And with OG Anunoby's caliber and the way that he is able to shoot the 3 ball, be one of the best perimeter defenders in basketball, he is going to warrant more money. And he is not going to be signing just over $20 million a year with the Toronto Raptors. Now, teams that are interested in him, there are so many deals I've been hearing. But the one team I do believe would be best with him is the New Orleans Pelicans. Have him in the lineup with Brandon Ingram, with CJ McCollum, with Zion Williamson, someone who's able to step out, hit the 3, and then be basically a Herb Jones, a super Herb Jones, be one of the best defenders in the league and still have that offensive capabilities. I mean, he's averaged like 17 and 20 points a game the last couple seasons. So I would like to see, if anything, put him to for the New Orleans Pelicans and get in return potentially someone like a Dyson Daniels for the Raptors to kind of build around. Maybe throw in like a Trey Murphy, maybe instead of a Dyson Daniels. There's some young guys there that could potentially like be some good pieces for the future for the Raptors. But in terms of guys like basically like guaranteed on their way out, there's a lot of guys in the Raptors that are on the trade block, but those two, I feel like even as a Raptor fan, those 2 deals have to be made before the deadline happens.
Jay, who's likely to be traded before Thursday's deadline?
So I have two as well, and I think I'm gonna go with the easy one first, which I think is Jay Crowder for the Phoenix Suns. I feel like at the end of the day, they can't go to this trade deadline without making some kind of exchange that includes him. One of the interesting ones is obviously involved Bogdanovich over in Detroit. Now, Detroit values him much more than maybe the rest of the league does, and I think they're a little bit delusional about what they've been sharing in terms of what they believe his value is. But Phoenix is one of the only teams that still has basically all of their own draft picks, along with the fact that they do have Jay Crowder, who would be an expiring contract for Detroit. So that would be something that at least is in their favor. And if they can get draft capital on top of that, that would be huge. Getting Bogdanovich creates another, gives them another wing creator, which is big time because Chris Paul has played better as of late, but he has kind of been a shell of himself so far this season. Obviously, Devin Booker deserves, MVP credence at least in his absence, just out of the mere fact of just how bad this Phoenix Suns team has been without him on the floor. So I think adding another shot creator to a team that already has a pretty solid defensive core with guys like Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and guys of that nature already on the wings, I think that would be a good add. And then the other one, I'm actually going to go back to Toronto, but pick a different guy, which is Fred VanVleet. I think that he's another guy that's been heavily discussed because of the fact that he is also going to be a pending free agent, similar to Gary Trent Jr. And the biggest thing with Fred is the question as to whether or not there is a real extension waiting for him for this Toronto Raptors team. Like, that is the thing that they have to ask themselves is, do they feel confident in the idea of not only that they can retain him, but if he sees any other offer that's intriguing, whether or not they have anything that's strong enough to counter offer that, besides just simply the fact that they can offer more money this offseason. And the team that comes to mind, if anybody's going to trade for him, I think it'll probably be the LA Clippers. It's been something that's been noted over the last couple of days that Kawhi Leonard has actually made it verbally known. Mind you, we said Kawhi Leonard and verbal, which means that it's probably important. He mentioned the idea of wanting better point guard play. They've been getting a lot of their point guard play from John Wall and Reggie Jackson, who have been okay, but not necessarily to Kawhi Leonard's liking, obviously, and they haven't been getting a ton of production if you just check at the numbers for them either. Fred VanVleet has had a bit of a down season, but is starting to bring things back up. Fred is familiar with playing with Kawhi Leonard, and they have one of the richest owners in basketball. So even if they have to pay to retain Fred VanVleet this offseason, after obviously moving draft capital and actual assets to trade for him, Ballmer's pockets are deep enough that if he's focused on winning and it doesn't matter what the price tag attached is to do so, he'll pay for Fred VanVleet. So he can create the space for them to bring him in, even if the cap space isn't necessarily there. So those are probably the two guys.
I also think there's two guys that are going to be traded. I unironically think they're going to end up in the same spot. Jay Crowder has to be moved from the Phoenix Suns to TV. There's no way Jay Crowder remains on the Phoenix Suns past next Thursday. I think Bogdanovich is also going to get moved. And I don't know if this is going to be by way of 3-team trade where both these guys end up on the same team, or there's going to be 2 individual trades. But no matter how it happens, I think that both, or I would like to see anyway. I don't know how realistic it is. I would like to see both Jay Crowder and Bogdanovich end up in LA for the Lakers. I think they're both needed by the Lakers. Like, the Lakers need to get their bench together, and like Jay Crowder's played with LeBron James. Jay Crowder can do everything. There's not much Jay Crowder can't do. Obviously there's things he does better than others, but like, Jay Crowder is needed. Bogdanovich is needed, obviously, to help with the shooting. Jay Crowder is a solid defender. I don't think it's going to happen, and I don't think it's going to happen not because of its impracticality. I think Russell Westbrook and Darvin Ham have reminded us this season that last season was an albatross. It was not truly indicative of what Russell Westbrook brings to the table. He's currently leading, and he has been for the better part of the season. He's been leading the odds to be this year's 6th man of the year. He's been playing phenomenal basketball, and I think it works. What I don't think is working in the Lakers, though, is Patrick Beverley. It's just not. Like
Hmm.
the things that Pat Bev has done so far with his stint in the Lakers has not at all been, I think, what the Lakers thought they were going to get or what they maybe were expecting to get from Pat Bev. I don't know what they were expecting, but it just wasn't working. And also, this is pretty unfortunate, when LeBron misses time, because there are games when LeBron doesn't play, and knock on wood, if Anthony Davis misses time again, the Lakers somehow always fall back into these two guard lineups that have Pat Bev and Russell Westbrook on the floor at the same time. Those two combination, that pair is the least productive pair in the National Basketball Association. I don't mean that figuratively. I mean it literally. Like their net rating, their box plus minus, like any metric, advanced or simple, that you want to pull to pair these two against any other, or to compare these two against any other duo, backcourt duo in the NBA, starting, second string, like whatever, it's the worst. Like they are terrible on the floor together. And here's the thing, LeBron's not going to play all 82 games. He already hasn't. He's not going to play every game down the rest of the season. He's just not. AD may or may not miss time down the line. And I think Pat Bev needs to go. And I do think that the Lakers need to bring in some other guard that you can pair with Russell Westbrook in these two guard lineups in the event that those two guys aren't available. And the person that I think that the Lakers should absolutely go for, and I think it is something that could happen, is Gary Trent. I think Gary Trent could end up a Laker. I think it makes the most sense. I think it's the most practical trade. I don't think they're going to get Fred VanVleet because, like you mentioned, Jay, Kawhi wants Fred VanVleet, and the Clippers are going to move heaven and earth to make sure that Fred VanVleet is a Clipper, and at the very least, not a Laker. So, like, there's so many other. I really think the extension of Miles Turner by Indiana threw a wrench in a lot of teams' plans, like a lot of people's trade plans, because Miles Turner was, I think, the most coveted player to be traded for. We always talk about Miles Turner around this time of year anyway. There's one guy that none of us mentioned, so I'm kind of interested to hear your take on this. John Collins.
I knew it.
What's happening with John Collins?
I knew it.
Like, what are we doing with John at this point?
He was going to be my name instead of Fred VanVleet as kind of like a difficult one because of the fact that, like, he's always brought up around this time. The thing is, he's not shooting the ball very well this year. I think he messed up like his right index finger or something like that earlier in the season. And he basically hasn't been able to shoot the ball since, or shoot the ball well since, I guess. And I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, if we're being real, I think a pairing with him and Miles Turner in Indiana could be cool. I also saw something that mentioned the idea of him being in Phoenix next to DeAndre Ayton. I also think that pairing is also pretty interesting for its own reasons. I just feel like at the end of the day, John Collins is not necessarily playing himself into any real conversations as a trade asset. And it also seems like Atlanta is very neutral on the idea of moving him. So it's kind of like, if you give us something nice enough, sure, but otherwise we're not really in a rush. And for a team that's very nonchalant about the idea of what you would want to put together to move him, while also coming off as being very high on his value, if you view him as a high value commodity as opposed to a salary dump, while other teams are coming to you with the expectation that they'll take him off your hands as a salary dump, then you can't really meet in the middle to make any trades, and therefore no trade will happen. And we've seen that for the last 2-3 years.
Well, the problem with John Collins is that he has 3 more years after this year left on his deal too.
That too. Good God, man.
And it's not cheap. He's gonna get paid at $25 million a year. I don't think it's a problem of trying to find someone that wants John Collins. It's the problem of trying to find John Collins a place where they're willing to take his contract. And before this whole Kyrie Irving stuff, I was potentially thinking that he was going to go to the Brooklyn Nets. I thought that he would be a nice little piece there. But now with the whole Kyrie Irving situation going up, it's probably not going to be a possibility. But I don't know. It's been 3 years since he's been on this trade deadline buzz, it feels like. And same with the other guy that I don't know. We haven't talked about him either, but Eric Gordon. I mean,
oh God, they're just doing that man dirty. He's held hostage, gunpoint and all. He's
get him out of Houston. Just get him out of Houston. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, those two guys have been on the like the trade block for like 3 years now. So if I feel like if nothing's gonna happen this year, it's not gonna happen ever.
This may or may not be the most hostile segment of the show, and I'm prepared for all the smoke because I have
Interesting.
there are
Okay.
things that I have to say about a particular player in the NBA that aren't very kind. It won't be taken too well, then it'll be posted on TikTok and Twitter, and I'll get slandered, but I don't care. Jay, who's the MVP of the league right now?
Oh my God. It's Jokic, and I'm tired of it. I'm gonna be honest. I think that at the end of the day, Embiid is swaying me. Let me make sure I preference that. Embiid is swaying me, and this has been my new take on the MVP race. The stat nerds will take Nikola Jokic because no matter what advanced metric you look at, the dude is killing it in all directions. The eye test people will see what Jokic does, but then turn on the tape of games like when him and Joel Embiid went head to head recently.
Ooh, yeah.
And those will be the games that play in Joel Embiid's favor because those are going to be the games that when the two had to line up against each other, so to speak, what happened? And actually, kind of historically speaking, when those two have played against each other, Joel Embiid has outplayed Jokic a good handful of the time as well. So I think that from a narrative perspective, I think that both of these guys have a significant case. I don't even think that Jokic is my lead candidate by a lot anymore. I think that Jokic has just been my lead candidate for so long so far this season that I'm not willing to pivot off of one in particular matchup that takes place in the middle of the season. I don't think I'm ready to just come off the high horse for that purpose. These are two teams that are in the top 2 to top 3 of their respective conferences. So that's something that kind of should not sway one way or another because both teams have been very productive. I also think that Joel Embiid has probably been the most snubbed guy this year in terms of not only MVP, but obviously the way the All-Star production took place because he's going to end up being the All-Star starter replacement for Kevin Durant more than likely in terms of the actual game. But the fact that he wasn't in the starting lineup in the first place is practically egregious. So to answer the question, my lead guy is Nikola Jokic, but it's because he's been the lead guy for me for the last month and a half, and I'm not going to let one game deter me from that. But I would be willing to say that if we take the stat nerd aspect of it out and we just focus on overall productivity, just like across the board and what you see with your eyes, factoring the game we just saw in, Joel Embiid is right there, and I think the dude is he needs to start a campaign like Kevin Durant did of being tired of coming in second because I think at some point once he makes a hard enough ploy for himself, he's going to start to get some more people on his side. So far, he's still been struggling with that, but the dude keeps moving up the Kia MVP ladder. He's second now, and I think he's gaining buzz.
Go ahead, TV. I'm ashamed of you, by the way, Jay. I just want to let you know I'm very disappointed in you. It's okay though.
We'll figure it out.
Well, you get ready to get disappointed in me because I think it's Jokic as well. Nikola Jokic, man. I mean, he's been basically my number one candidate since the new year. And if you really think about it, what was the arguments before Jokic this season, like for his former 2 MVPs? 6th seed in the West, not like there's no Murray, not much success. I mean, like what's like he's not he's not leading a top team. He's half a game behind the best team, behind the best team in the league, averaging a triple-double, and he's doing it on like ridiculous percentages. I didn't realize he was that close to 40% from 3, but he's almost there. He's like 70% true shooting percentage, like one of the top in the league. I mean, Jay mentioned it. He's like a orgasm for freaking for NBA stat nerds, but he's been doing it for like a long time. And I wouldn't say it's just that matchup that Embiid has really like pulled it closer to him. It's this run that the 76ers have been in basically over the past like few weeks. The fact that they started off super slow. They were like battling for like 6th, 7th spot in the beginning of the year, and now has elevated themselves to potentially finishing a top 2, top 3 seed in the East. That's what's also like helping his case moving forward. But I'm the same as Jay. I'm not gonna let like a few week stretch where Embiid has looked amazing once again. MVP candidate. He leads the league in scoring. To really alter my case, to alter my view, I still think that Nikola Jokic is still the clear MVP candidate as of right now. And Marcus, you look very, very disappointed in both of us.
Oh, I just can't believe
Marcus, let's make it make sense. Aaron Gordon is having one of the best seasons. Aaron Gordon is having one of the best seasons of his career. The Denver Nuggets are one of the best 3-point. They are literally the best 3-point shooting team in the league, with most of their 3-point opportunities being created off of Jokic's passes and the overall system facilitated around Nikola Jokic. So you're having impacts on other players where they're having some of the best career splits of their best career splits ever. They're the best team in the Western Conference. They are the best 3-point shooting team in the league.
The best shooting team in general. They're like 51% from the field.
It's like literally the next team behind them isn't close.
Yeah.
The only thing that the only thing that Joel Embiid beats him in statistically has literally been points. And yes. Joel's doing that to everybody. So what exactly? And even I think, of course, I think the play for most people in favor of Joel Embiid is going to be defensively. And I think, of course, we got to take stats out of it for that one, because then it's kind of Nikola Jokic looks like a great defender statistically, but we all know that that's a skewed thing. But I am curious to hear what the play for Joel Embiid is, besides the fact that he's on the second best team in the Eastern Conference and he leads the league in scoring, because that there's 40 plus guys averaging 20 points a game. So
first of all, shame on you for thinking that Joel Embiid is my MVP, because he's not. I have him ranked higher than Nikola Jokic. Number one.
That's even crazier. Are you serious?
Let's get a couple things together. I'm serious. Seriously hard. Let's get a couple things together. Nikola Jokic, the last 2 seasons he's played basketball, he's played great basketball. Right, average 27 some odd points.
This preface is crap. Where are we going with it?
11, 12, whatever many boards. Do you know what I mean? Without Jamal Murray, without Michael Porter Jr., all this great stuff. Fantastic, right? He played great basketball. Nikola Jokic, right? First of all, we just compare Nikola Jokic's season right now with his last 2 MVP seasons. Statistically, the only thing that has improved really is the number of assists he's averaging, and that's because Jamal Murray's back playing basketball. That's number one. Number two, I'm not going to sit here. No, I'm not going to sit here. I'm not going to sit here and be patronized and allow Nikola Jokic and the way he plays basketball to lie to me and fool me into thinking that he's the MVP of the league right now.
Who is your MVP? I'm so tired of this prefacing. This is BS.
I get it. I get it. Nikola Jokic.
What is going on?
I understanding and that's fantastic, right? It is. But this is a basketball team in the Denver Nuggets that we all knew when, or at least I did, when everyone was available and healthy, is one of the best teams in basketball. So him being ranked, the team being a half a game out being the best record in the league is not shocking to me. It's not. This is one of the best teams in basketball. Now, you mentioned Aaron Gordon having the best season of his career this season. You know why Aaron Gordon's having the best season of his career so far? Because when he started off, he was playing, where was he? In Orlando, garbage organization. Then when he got to Denver, he was forced to be the second option because MPJ's back was hurting all the time and Jamal Murray wasn't playing. Now he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's like the third or fourth option. So
which also includes him shooting dang near 40% from 3. Where did that come from? The dude who won the dunk contest? The dude who was supposed to win the contest on 3.
No, I'm not going away contest. I'm not saying Aaron Gordon's playing bad. I'm just saying he's having the best season of his career because he's not being expected to carry an offensive load the way that he was when he first got into the league and the way that he was without Jamal Murray being there. He's finally able to play his brand of basketball. That's what I'm saying. I'm not taking it away from him.
His brand of basketball usually includes catching somebody's body instead of shooting 39% from 3.
He still does that. Don't make me pull up Aaron Gordon's stats. Aaron Gordon's never been a bad shooter.
They're going to include shooting the best percentage from beyond the arc we've ever seen close.
But what I'm saying, though, is that Aaron Gordon before, right? like when he was in Orlando and when he first got to Denver, he had to do more, so he wasn't as efficient because he's not used to having to do more.
Okay, I'm willing to. Okay, I'm willing to concede that.
I'm not like trying to take away. I'm just saying like him having the best season of his career has a lot less to do with him or Jokic necessarily independently, but more so like where he fits now on the pecking order of the basketball team.
Okay, that's fair.
The MVP is not Embiid. I love Embiid. I think Embiid's been playing great, and like I wouldn't mind if Embiid was MVP. But it's not.
Is he at least top 3? Is Jokic at least top 3?
Yes, he's top 3. He's third. Yes, he is. I said that. He's third. Jason Tatum's the MVP of the league. Like I don't even understand why we're doing this. Like Jason Tatum is playing phenomenal basketball on both sides of the ball. He's averaging over 30. One of like a handful of teams players that's doing so, and he happens to play for the team that is that is the best team defensively and offensively. Like, what are we talking about right now? Why are we doing this?
Sir, what can you please replay the part? No. I need you to replay the part about how you describe the Denver Nuggets team and then tell me that does not apply the exact same way to the Boston Celtics team that has 2 All-Stars on the team, reigning DPOY and one of the lead candidates for 6th Man of the Year, the team that we thought were going to be one of the deepest teams in basketball. What are you talking about?
First of all, relax, bro. You're turning red. Like, just let's let the blood flush out of your face here for just.
Oh my God,
that's number 1. Number 2, let me answer your question. Jason Tatum. This isn't like Jason Tatum is like not being. It's not like Jason Tatum isn't great despite. Like Jason Tatum has been great. Jason Tatum is doing phenomenal things. You're lucky I didn't come on here and say that Luka's the MVP because you
would have lost me with that. You'd have lost me with that.
So I took it away. I took it back. Like Jason Tatum is playing great basketball, and I think that when you look at the way that Jason Tatum has been playing and what he's been doing for this Celtics, like Jason Tatum's the heart and soul of the Celtics team. Right now, you want to bring up Marcus Smart and the fact that he's the defensive player of the year. Let's be honest, bro.
No. I'm not supporting. No, I think Robert Williams deserved DPOY more than Marcus.
Well, that's
Smart.
number
what
1.
I'm saying is that's the deepest team in basketball. You said we knew Nikola Jokic and the Nuggets were going to be at least relatively in the ballpark of being this good the minute they got.
No, I didn't say relatively. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets a couple seasons ago were like the first seed in the West.
The Boston Celtics just came off of the NBA Finals and came back as the deepest team in basketball.
What's your point, bro?
What's my point? Listen to the comparisons. Nikola Jokic is third for you. He is third, and
Nikola Jokic
deep. The bench is garbage.
So Nikola Jokic is so we're taking away what from Jason Tatum because the Celtics know how to build a roster.
Didn't you just do that talking about MPJ and Jamal Murray coming back?
No. You're misunderstanding. No. What I'm saying is what Nikola Jokic is doing now. What Nikola Jokic is doing now this season shouldn't be a surprise because he spent the last 2 seasons becoming better as a passer.
So what makes him third? So what makes him what in that situation makes him third? He's doing what you expected him to do?
Said it to you. He hasn't been having a better season, in my opinion, than Jason Tatum. The Joel Embiid thing is really just because I prefer Embiid over Jokic. If we're being honest, if I'm being unbiased, Jokic is second. If I'm being unbiased,
what is happening?
I've just always thought that Embiid is better than Jokic. If we're being honest, my MVP ladder is Tatum, Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, and Luka. That's my top 5.
I just want to know what Jason Tatum is doing. Is this strictly about the defensive end? Because I understand that Jason Tatum is averaging 30. I understand that. But what about Jason Tatum on this team stands out so much that he is playing better than Nikola Jokic?
I don't think this team is where it is without Jason Tatum. And I think you've seen
without Jokic, you can't And without
I don't think.
We can play that exact same logic with Jokic, and it would be.
That's the answer to the question, though.
What?
That's
the answer to the Bruce Brown averaged almost 12 points a game. He has there's like 7 players. Okay, Jason Tatum. Yes, he's 30 points per game. One of the best scorers in basketball. he is being like followed by like you mentioned, it's probably the sixth man of the year in Malcolm Brogdon. You have all these guys like performing. Jaylen Brown's almost averaging 30. He's averaging like 27, 28 points per game this year.
The Celtics have a good roster. It's not. And it's not Nikola Jokic's fault that the Nuggets have a bad bench. What I'm saying is, if I'm looking at the 2 seasons that I'm looking at, I am taking Jason Tatum and what he's done so far over Nikola Jokic. That's all. It's preference.
I'm sorry. Bruce Brown is not averaging 12 points a game on the Celtics. KCP is not putting the Bruce Brown is not averaging like almost 12 points a game on the Celtics. Anyway, this is a lot of the success.
Wait, you said Bruce Brown's not averaging 12 points on the Celtics?
He is not. Come on, bro. He is not averaging all of the other successes of the other players. I mean, let's be honest too. Jamal Murray is not like coming back and like taking over the world or anything.
He's not. He's had a pretty pedestrian season so far. I mean,
all of the people like coming under Jokic, whether it's a KCP, whether it's a Aaron Gordon, Bones Highland, all of them. It starts with Jokic, ends with Jokic.
That's fine.
That's
fine. I mean, that's fine. He's the best player on the team. That's usually what happens when you're the best player on the team. Everything starts.
They have the deepest team in basketball. And he just said that they're not the number 1 overall seed in basketball without Jason Tatum. But if you tell me that Jaylen Brown and the rest of this team is still playing and Jason Tatum misses a month or a month and a half like Kevin Durant, this is not still a competent basketball team, is insane. If Nikola Jokic misses a month to a month and a half, this team doesn't even know where offense starts to generate from on a nightly basis.
That's not true. The offense would generate from Jamal Murray, which is where
what does that look like? You just said he's having a pedestrian season. Nikola Jokic playing out of his mind. He's having a pedestrian season. He's supposed to have a better season without that kind of facilitation and without that kind of control on the floor.
Well, the last time the offense ran solely through Jamal Murray, it took the Nuggets to the Western Conference Finals against the Los Angeles Lakers a couple years ago.
Wait a minute.
So let's not. Let's not
get it twisted.
Say it again.
Jamal Murray, the offense going through Jamal Murray solely won them a series.
No, the Western Conference Finals. Why are we doing this?
Them playing this in that fashion won them a series.
And it took won them 2 series. Actually, won them 2.
Oh my god!
They made it to the Western Conference Finals and won them 2 series. Jaylen, stop doing it. Jaylen, stop it. Stop it, bro. Stop it, bro. I have officially. Here's the thing.
Okay.
Like, this is where I am with Nikola Jokic.
Okay, I'm willing to listen.
Okay,
I'm willing to listen.
And I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna keep it a being with you. This is the most biased thing I've ever said. Like,
oh my god,
about Jason Tatum, it's completely biased. Do you know why? I refuse. I think Nikola Jokic is a great basketball player. I think Nikola Jokic is a top 5 player in basketball.
Oh my god, I know where this is going.
I do.
Oh my
Where's it going? I do. I think
you don't think Nikola Jokic in the grand pantheon of the NBA should be the first guy since Larry Bird to win 3 straight MVP?
Absolutely not. No,
that's what this is about. That is insanity. That even matters to you.
No, because here's the thing. Here's the thing. All you hear, and I'm gonna be a bit. This is I swear to you, this is the most biased take I have ever had. Ever. It's the only biased take I'm gonna have. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that LeBron went back-to-back twice, and the third time he was denied because of voter fatigue. You're not gonna sit here and tell me that Steph Curry went back-to-back twice and didn't get it the third time because of voter fatigue. Giannis did it twice, and he didn't get it the third time because of voter fatigue. You're gonna sit here and tell me that Nikola Jokic is gonna be the first person since the great Larry Bird to 3-peat MVP.
Marcus, I don't disagree. Yes. Listen, I don't. And it's sick. Here, listen. This is the sick part about what you're saying. I don't disagree with you, but I hate the fact that we are seeing what we are seeing, and we are forced to basically have to knock a guy a peg down because of past decisions that we all can agree were misjudged.
Yeah.
Well, so now we're awarding, or I guess we're not awarding a guy.
We're punishing.
Exactly. We are punishing a guy for basically a lack of consistency up until this point in terms of what MVP is meant to be. And now that there is any semblance of righting the ship because of the guy that is going to be the one that is the start of turning this tail around, of voter fatigue no longer having impact. That's the difference between what's going to happen and what should happen, is the fact that the guy who represents that turning of the ship is not the guy that is supposed to.
It's not that it's Jokic specifically, because Jokic is the top 5 player in basketball. But there's the other 4 top 5 players in basketball are having MVP caliber season. Are they not?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Is essentially you just named 3 other guys that I think all deserve to be that person to have righted that ship, but they're not that guy right now. And that's the thing.
We are not punishing Jokic for that. We are not punishing Jokic for
that. Hey, Utah might not be punishing Jokic.
Oh my God.
I refuse. And y'all better be lucky I don't have a vote, because I refuse to live in a world where the first man since the great Larry Bird to win 3 straight MVPs is Nikola Jokic. Don't get me wrong, Nikola Jokic is great. He is a top 5 player in basketball.
He's great. He deserves this. He deserves this.
Like, the optics of this is crazy to me. There's so many better options than Nikola Jokic.
Wait, is it Nick Wright? Nick Wright is the one who said last year that he is like the most undeserving MVP ever, right?
Well, I don't think he's undeserving. He deserved the 2 MVPs that he got. I'm not saying that he didn't deserve them, and I'm not saying that he doesn't have a case for this one. I'm just saying I don't want it to happen. That's all. I don't want it to happen.
That's so sick, Marcus. That's so sick.
No,
bro.
You're right. This is the sickest thing I've ever said on the show.
Oh my God.
Me personally, at like the man that I am, I wouldn't be able to look at myself in the mirror if I openly acknowledge that Nikola Jokic is the MVP of the league, because he's not. He's just not. He's just not. And you know what makes this so easy? It's that Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Joel Embiid, in their own way, all have very different but also very similar legitimate cases to be the MVP. And so it's really an instance where it's not like I'm saying like, oh, like Kyrie or like Steph or someone should be MVP. Like, it's really now. I will say this, and I said this last year. I'm going to say it again, and I mean it. I mean it. And y'all know what I'm about to say, so it doesn't even matter. I'm going to say it, and we're going to move on to the All-Star game. If they were winning more basketball games, LeBron James would be the MVP of the league. Now,
oh my God. I'm so tired of this crap.
They're 12.
Oh my God. I'm so tired.
The difference between 12th and like 4th right now in the West is like 5 games. No,
the only reason that team is even relevant is LeBron watch. Like, literally the only reason we.
Speaking of which, LeBron James and the Lakers, they just finished their game against the Pelicans. I'm not sure if they won or lost, but LeBron James
they lost.
He's now 36 points away from becoming the all-time leading scorer in NBA history. Something that I don't think has been getting the love that it deserves.
Wow.
In my opinion. I don't think it's got the love that it deserves.
I do think it's slowly falling under the radar. I will agree.
Okay.
Yeah, and it shouldn't be. So let's talk about the All-Star game. I can't leave with this.
You're sick of
as always, and we kind of talked about this before the show, there's always somebody that gets snubbed from the All-Star game. This year, it felt as if there were a bunch of somebodies that were snubbed from the All-Star game. In your opinion, who is the biggest snub from this year's festivities?
James Harden. I think it's James Harden. I think there's plenty of guys who I think, like you said before, and I think there's plenty of guys that fall under the snubbed category this year. But if you had to say who I think is the most snubbed, James Harden is averaging 21, 6, and 11 while shooting 44 or about 45% from the field, nearly 40% from 3, and 86% from the free throw line. He is falling under the radar for one of the best teams in basketball simply because of the dominance of Joel Embiid. And I think also out of the fact that people are kind of hardened out. Like, I think a lot of people are kind of just, I think a lot of people have a negative connotation of James Harden because of the way the last couple of seasons go. Another guy who falls into that same category, I think, is Trae Young, who's averaging like almost 30 and 11 his dang self. I think that there's been a bit of a sour taste in the mouth of certain people when it comes to not only the play style, but the overall antics of guys like James Harden and Trae Young. And I think that unfortunately, in situations like this where there's a voting system to determine who we believe, quote unquote, is the best players up until this portion of the season, guys like that, those antics kind of end up overshadowing things. One of the things I was a firm believer of was I think that if the fan vote was not so influential on the starters, I don't know if Kyrie Irving would have been a starter for the Eastern Conference. I think if the fan vote didn't have as much influence as it did, people would have had a real would have had to really come to grips with themselves as to whether or not Kyrie Irving made the All-Star team this season, which I think is ridiculous. Me personally, I don't think that with the production he's had on the floor that he is undeserving of being an All-Star. But I think that some of the off-the-court antics are influential enough to make you believe that he is unworthy of being so. And I think that in the circumstance of guys like James Harden, like Trae Young, I don't think Jimmy Butler falls into this category necessarily. I think his might just be with the fact that he's missed significant amount of time. But like specifically those two guys, James Harden and Trae Young, I think specifically fall into this category of I think outside influences had more to do with these two guys not making the team. And there is injury reserve that's going to be taken into account for a couple of guys who did end up making the team. One person will be elevated into the starting position potentially for Kevin Durant. Same thing with potentially Zion Williamson, which will also open up 1 to 2 more all-star reserve spots for two guys that didn't make the team. I think James Harden should be one of the first guys on that list.
Go ahead, Jimmy.
I'm going to give you one in the East, one in the West. In the East, I would be doing him a disservice if I didn't talk about him. I have his shirt on right now. Pascal Siakam.
I feel that as well.
I
feel that.
You're not telling me that someone who is averaging 25 points a game, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. Sure, the Raptors are not in the best situation. I know for a fact because I have been watching all year and I've been constantly disappointed. But Pascal Siakam, we're not taking this away from him. Last year, I get it. He missed a lot of time earlier on in the season. Even though he had a good season, like up to that point, he just didn't play enough games. He's had a better year this year, his best year of his career. And you're telling me that's not worth an all-star spot? Just because Julius Randle is for some reason, chucking up 25, 30 shots a game on national television?
Julius Randle is crazy. Julius Randle is crazy.
I'm sorry. I don't even think he's. If anyone on the Knicks is going to make it, it wasn't even supposed to be Julius Randle. But here we are. Pascal Siakam is the first player in NBA history with at least 25, 8, and 6 to not make the All-Star team. The first player in NBA history with those type of stats. It's mind-boggling to me how he hasn't made he didn't make the roster. And for once, I'm like, man, national TV bias actually came through for Julius Randle for once. I feel like that actually did come through. It pissed me off. And even if in my picks, as you've seen on the hit your free throws like TikTok, Instagram, or whatever, I didn't even think he was the one Nick that deserving of it. The reason this season's all turned around is because of Jalen Brunson. Yeah. They finally have a competent point guard who is able to score over 20 a game, be able to be a solid facilitator for the team. I thought he was more deserving than Julius Randle. James Harden is more deserving than Julius Randle. I was going to say that for Pascal Siakam too. But yeah, that's the one in the East for me. And then for the West, I mean, I love Jaren Jackson Jr. I think that he is a top candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. But De'Aaron Fox on the Sacramento Kings as the 3rd seed in the West, being the option 1A or 1B, whatever you want to put it. The fact that the 1 year the Sacramento Kings are finally going to make it out of purgatory, finally going to make the NBA playoffs for the first time in 16, 17 years, and he doesn't deserve the All-Star spot. Again, mind-boggling to me. And Jaren Jackson Jr., I had him on the cusp of the team between him and Paul George. But right now, De'Aaron Fox 100% deserved that spot. And I don't get why how Jaren Jackson got over him. And to be honest, if you want to talk about Jrue Holiday on the East side of things too, I'm not sure how he made it in over certain people as well. But those are my two, at least my main All-Star snubs.
I'm ashamed in both of you for the second consecutive segment. And you know what? I'm sick of it. I expect better from both of you. It's ridiculous.
Who could you possibly have that's more
It is
deserving than these three?
ridiculous that I have to sit here and discuss
He better not say who I think he about to say, bro.
player in the Western Conference that is not an all-star, and I'm supposed to sit here and not bring him up. Why? Why is that? You're
a sick individual, Marcus.
Why is that? How am I sick, bro?
You're a sick individual because the way you ended the last segment is the way you're about to start this one.
This isn't trial.
To me.
This isn't trolling. And this isn't bias. This is facts. This is facts. Jaren Jackson this season is averaging 17, 7, and 1. I know he missed some time, but we're not about to sit here and act like Anthony Davis has been awesome. We can't do that. We can't sit here and act like he's averaging 27, 12, and 3 with a block.
He hasn't played 30 games.
I don't care.
Marcus, listen, I had him. If you check the TikTok, I had him on my team. I had him on my team myself.
Well, you should have mentioned it on Go Talk and Marcus tonight, is all I'm saying.
This is why I did not. It's because you asked me who I felt like was the most snubbed. This is the argument against Anthony Davis. The same argument everybody is pushed towards why Zion Williamson shouldn't start, let alone be on the team.
Oh, wait a second. Jaren Jackson has played 35 games this year.
Here's Marcus rewarding wrong with wrong again. That's what this is.
Hold on, wait a second. No. Jaren Jackson has played 35 games this year.
Okay.
Right? Anthony Davis has played 29. He's missed 6 more games than Jaren Jackson has. It's not like Anthony Davis has missed a bunch of time. Anthony Davis went on one of the most dominant stretches in the history of basketball.
I agree.
A couple like last month to kick off the new year, he went on one of the most dominant stretches in the history of basketball. Now, if you want to sit here and tell me that, I'm not saying he deserved to be a starter. I'm not saying that.
Of course not. No. I'm not accusing you.
All-star is what I'm saying. Over Jaren Jackson,
I agree with you.
To be an all-star. Now, the biggest snub, of course, is James Harden. There's no way James Harden's not.
As long as we're on the same page there. As long as we're on the same page there.
With the way that James Harden, like the discourse on my show this season about James Harden with my guy Martin Stories of Basketball Society has been the same all year. As long as James Harden is playing elite basketball, the Philadelphia 76ers can be contenders to come out of the Eastern Conference.
We're on the same page.
To win a championship. James Harden this season has been playing elite basketball, and he should be an all-star starter. Jalen Brunson, to TV's point, is the only player in a Knicks uniform that is deserving of an all-star spot. And for him to not be an all-star, and for Jalen Randle to be an all-star is absurd. But I have made it a point on this show to continue to push the narrative of support for Anthony Davis. And here's why. Because we always talk about how Anthony Davis is street clothes, how he's always available, but he's played more games than Paul George and Kawhi Leonard has played in the time he's been in LA. That's all I'm saying. So Anthony Davis is averaging 10 more points. He's averaging more rebounds. He's averaging more assists. He's averaging more steals and less blocks. That's because Jaren Jackson's averaging 3 and he's averaging 2. But Anthony Davis should be an all-star player, at least coming off as a reserve. So he's not the biggest snub. I just wanted to show some love to Anthony Davis.
Here's the thing. I think you're not wrong because, like I said, I put him on my team as well. So if we're just talking simply, was he snubbed? He was snubbed. I'm not going to sit here and disrespect him by saying that I don't think he was deserving of the spot. I think, unfortunately, the Western Conference did themselves. This is nobody's fault. Injuries are injuries, but the Western Conference, from a selection standpoint, did itself a disservice because I don't think that anybody. I literally said this in the TikTok. I don't think anybody from the forward position really stood outside of the guys who initially were starting. I think when you look at the Western Conference grouping, Paul George was in the conversation. I think Paul George is having a sneaky season, but that LA Clippers team doesn't even have the same starting lineup every night. Like 2 nights back to back. Right? So that team is inconsistent. I think that Jaren Jackson Jr. has been elite defensively. He's still having struggles staying on the court with fouling. You mentioned the idea of their playing time in terms of games. Let's look at minutes played. If you look at minutes played, Anthony Davis has played more than Jaren Jackson Jr. this season. That's despite the fact that Jaren Jackson has played in more games, but that is also due to Jaren Jackson's play style, getting him off the floor significantly. Yeah. You look at the other guys that are kind of in that realm, I don't love the grouping. And unfortunately, Zion Williamson kind of ended up setting a weird precedent that kind of further plays into Anthony Davis' case. Because if you want to play the game of Zion Williamson as a all-star starter,
Yeah.
then Anthony Davis is a no-brainer at that point. Because then at that point, you can make the argument that Anthony Davis probably should have started over Zion, which I feel as though is kind of its own little mini argument underneath of all of this snub stuff, right? Is who, if you had to bump somebody out, who would it be if you wanted to realign things? Because the all-star starters was really where things got the most complicated. I think especially when the Western Conference, like I said, the Zion thing really made things kind of weird.
Sabonis should have been in there.
I'm still under the belief that if Zion doesn't play, either Sabonis or Lauri Markkanen will actually be bumped up to the starting position. I wouldn't even be surprised if they bumped Lauri simply because of the fact that it is in Utah. That's a whole separate semantics thing that takes place, obviously. So we're not focused on the play, even though Lauri's been a beast. I don't care. That's his own separate thing too. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know. The West was so weird that if those that watched, I had Draymond Green as a legitimate candidate. I do still believe that some of the guys that ended up making the All-Star team were maybe a little bit more deserving than Draymond Green. But I think that my case for Draymond Green was more built off of the fact of like, throw me some names. Like it was one of those things where it was like, throw me some names, and I didn't feel confident about many other people. So the Western Conference was kind of set up in a weird way. Anthony Davis is deserving of being one. He probably in the Western Conference, if everything aligns where Zion doesn't play, somebody gets bumped up and somebody else gets added, Anthony Davis probably should be like one of the first guys considered.
Well, it's going to be him or like Aaron Gordon. I don't know.
If they're simply forward for forward, then that's going to be nasty. If it's simply just for the wild card position, I think it's either De'Aaron or Davis, and I think that one they can play rock paper scissors for it because I feel like they both will be deserving.
I think the biggest issue with the All-Star game is like this position stuff. Like they've got to get rid of it, especially because
I agree.
We don't the All-Star game isn't drafted as such. So like I didn't post anywhere, but I took the time and I wrote who I think the starters should have been for the East and the West. Like if it's not positionless, just the 5 guys that I think deserves it in each. And I think the East got it a little bit better than the West did, honestly. Like the one thing I would think about the East is for me, and this is just some of my personal bias, but like for me, the Eastern starters were Giannis, Kevin Durant, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum, and excuse me. Who do I have on here? And Tyrese Halliburton. I just think that Tyrese Halliburton has been playing great. Like, obviously, Jaylen Brown, I think, could have been that 5th person as well. But me personally, I think Tyrese Halliburton's just been playing slightly better basketball. Just because he's the number 1 option in Indiana. He's leading the league in assists. He's been playing great. And he's one of the reasons why they're relevant. And then in the West, for me, it's LeBron, Steph, Luka, Jokic. And instead of Zion, I have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander as a starter.
I like that.
So he deserves it. So like the tough thing for the East is that Embiid should be a starter. And if you want to take out like Donovan Mitchell and put in Embiid, you can do that.
I think Tyrese would have probably been the odd man.
Yeah, he would have been the odd man out.
Tyrese Halliburton would have been the odd man out. But me personally, I just have loved what Tyrese Halliburton's been doing all season. Like they got to get rid of this positions thing because number 1, they don't draft based on position, and number 2, we're talking about all the time how this is a positionless game. So like. Yeah. Why are we drafting still based on, or why are we voting as fans still based on front court and back court and all this other stuff? I don't think it matters. So we got one more thing left to do tonight, and I think it's gonna be fun. And it's also going to test the chemistry of these 2 knuckleheads up here who started so the All-Star game, of course, not next weekend. Next weekend is Super Bowl weekend, but the weekend after that. And we know who all 22 All-Stars are. I don't care which one of you drafts first, but it's just me. So I'm going to draft my team. These 2 up here as the co-host of the Hit Your Free Throws pod is going to draft their team. And we're going to have them alternate each pick one by one. We'll obviously start by drafting the starters and then go to the reserves. And because I was raised right, I'll give y'all the first pick as a guest on the show.
Come on, TV.
Okay. All right, let's do this. Okay. Let's see. I mean, like, should we assign ourselves a player? I guess, like, because LeBron is like the number one vote getter. I guess we're team LeBron.
Just draft a.
Oh no, we're just drafting free for all. I think we've made a good enough case for who the first person should be.
Yep. I mean, we talked about them all. We talked about them all podcasts. Should we do it? You can.
I think we should.
Yeah, you can go say it.
Yeah, we're taking Nikola Jokic number one overall.
Exactly.
Losers. That's fine. Here, I need to write this down actually so I can keep track of what's happening. My first pick is going to be Giannis.
Okay. Definitely dusting you now. 100%.
All right. Cool.
Jaylon, I mean, go back and forth. So Jaylon, you'll take this pick. Then you'll do the next one.
Okay. I mean, assuming he stays healthy, I think that the man out east, the guy that Marcus has been saying is a top 5 player the last couple of years.
We're like this right now, bro.
Yeah, I know that duo would be nasty. Should I say it?
Yeah.
Let's go, KD. Give us KD.
Yeah. There you go.
Wow.
There you go.
You using my own words against me. What a guy. Take LeBron.
Okay. Fine. Take both captains. Both captains. Okay.
I'm loving this right now. I think.
I don't know. I don't know if we're in the same wavelength. I feel like we are. But there's this one guy. Oh my god! Imagine if this guy played with KD and Jokic. We got to go guard here, right? We got to go guard.
Are we taking that man? Are we taking that man?
I love how we're just talking like in code as if we can't talk about it. I don't know.
I think it's Curry.
Okay, yes, exactly. No, that's exactly
it's
what
Curry.
I wanted you to go. Okay, that's exactly what I wanted you to go with. Let's take Curry.
I think it's Curry.
I'm taking Luka.
Oh, I'm not mad at it because we know what's happening next. TV, come on. We gotta take Marcus's MVP. Come on, it's only right. It's only right.
Yo, we're taking his KD and now we're taking his MVP?
It's only right. Come on.
We're taking Tatum.
It's only right at this point. Come on. It's only right at this point.
And they're gonna. And let me tell you right now, they're gonna love playing with Jokic. They're gonna love
it. Oh my god, that's sick.
Take Zion.
Whew. I love the starting 5. Donovan Mitchell as the last one. Oh my god, I love this.
Donovan Mitchell, easy. Let's go.
Easy work.
D Mitch.
All right. I'll take the first reserve pick, and I have Kyrie Irving, by the way.
Course, yeah. To go.
I'm taking Embiid on this side.
Okay. Let's see. Okay, this is a tough one. I want to take it north of the border.
Okay, I'm rocking with you.
You rocking with it? You rocking with it? All right, give us Shea.
I'm rocking with you on that one. Love some Shea Gilgeous-Alexander.
Okay.
Ja.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that's a good.
That's a tough one.
You want to reach now, or you still want to be conventional about this?
You can convince me on your reach.
Because the reach is one of the foreign bigs. Because we know in real life one of them is going last. Unfortunately, like in real life, one of them is gonna get drafted last. Like,
but are we gonna be a man of the people? Are we gonna be a man for the people?
We're on the same. We're on the same wavelength. That's why I'm saying. Are we gonna reach? Do you want to reach now?
Yeah, go. Let's do it.
Let's take Laurie now. Let's just get Laurie out the way now.
Yeah, let's get Laurie. We're a man of the people of Utah. Let's get him early.
Take Sabonis.
Oh wow. Okay.
I'm loving this draft right now, TV, because now we got to get the one guy we both agree on. Come on, man. He's played for both of our teams. It's only correct. Come on, man.
Yo,
At this point,
are we that much of a homer?
we
though?
gotta home it. We
Fine.
gotta home it. If we don't get him, we're not a
Fine,
duo
fine. Okay,
podcast.
this is purely a hit your free throws like combined draft pick here. He is our like what do we call it? He's our mascot, DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan. He's the one who's gonna represent for both of us.
Everyone's lucky he's not part of our logo cover, to be honest.
Yes.
And he might be on variant 2 for all we know.
Who knows? Exactly.
Jaylen Brown. Oh, I was hoping that he would fall just one more.
Yeah, no,
That's fine though.
That's fine. It's whatever.
Ooh.
Oh my. Hold on 1 second.
All right. Big forward. All right, TV. I'm between two guys, bro. Both at guard, but I'm between two guys. It's either Lillard or Holiday.
Yo, who cares about defense in the All-Star game, bro? Who cares? Yo,
I'm for it.
Yeah, it's good day. Yo,
I feel it. Let's get Dame. I feel it.
Sorry, Drew. Yo, low-key, if this was Team Giannis, you know Drew's going first in the reserves. But
no
we're not letting
facts,
that
bro.
happen.
I'm trying to do Giannis solid. I'm trying to give him the blueprint because bro has been garbage with the drafts the last like 2 years, bro. He got to be stopped. Villain is drafting.
I'm taking Halliburton.
Fair.
Wait, what the heck? He was still a. Oh my god, I feel like an idiot. I thought he was. I thought he was gone already.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. We'll bounce back. Do we? I know I just said no defense.
I mean, but then it could either be Drew or Paul. To be honest.
Yeah.
I don't hate either one.
I don't hate.
There's only one pick I hope we don't get. There's only one, and I'm praying we don't.
I think it's there.
There's only one pick I hope we don't get, and right now we're in pretty prime position. So
I know. We have a bunch of guards right now with Lillard and Shea right now. I don't mind the Paul George pick if you want to go PG.
Right. Let's go PG.
Let's go PG. Got you.
Only 3 guys left. We all know who's picked last. So,
there's 4 players left.
No, there's 4 players left. There's 4.
No. There's only 3 that matter. We know, like I said, we know who's getting picked last. There's only 3 that matter. No sir.
Yeah, we'll take Bam.
Damn it. That's what I want.
That's hilarious. Oh my god, this is sick.
Okay. So we got Drew, Jaren left. I'm not even acknowledging
Oh my god, he's gonna be on our team. He's gonna be on our team. Oh my god.
Okay. We only have do we only have one big off the bench? I think we only have Lori.
Oh god, yeah. We are small as a mug, bro. Our team is tiny.
Let's say Triple J.
Yeah, let's I mean our starting unit is huge, and then our reserves are like we're gonna be like running and gunning all over the place.
Don't worry, I don't mind Triple J. I don't mind him.
Me either.
Holiday.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
I hope Jaren blocks Randall's shots too. Oh my god, I'm so.
We are not gonna sit here and let Julius Randle step back 30-foot.
I love this draft. I love this draft, and somehow we got Mr. Irrelevant. Like, how did that happen?
No,
that's brutal.
Damn it. Whatever. Whatever. Who was it? Was it Jimmy Butler the other year who made it to the All-Star team and didn't play a single minute?
Dude, yeah, man. Yeah. Fred VanVleet played 3 minutes last year. We'll figure it out.
So I'm just gonna run through the teams for all you lovely people. I'm also gonna make a graphic and post this so people can vote. The fellas of Hit Your Free Throws, their starters are Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Jason Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell. Their bench is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Laurie Markkinen, DeMar DeRozan, Damian Lillard, Paul George, Jaren Jackson, and Julius Randle.
Yo, we could have had Pascal, bro. We could have had Pascal in there, but we
Not for sure, bro.
But
You know that would have been a dub.
My team is Giannis Antetokounmpo, LeBron James, Luka Doncic, Zion Williamson, Kyrie Irving, Joel Embiid, John Morant, DeMontis Sabonis, Jaylen Brown, Tyrese Halliburton, Bam Adebayo, and Drew Holiday. So, All-Star Weekend, I'll make a graphic for that, and I'll have you guys post. And I know we probably should have assigned captains, but that's boring. It's not fun.
Yeah.
That's
Not fun. So, we have drafted our All-Star teams. This has been the final basketball episode of season 2. I don't think there's anything else left on the docket to discuss. Oh, I want to throw this in there just because I think it might be interesting. I know we still got a couple ways. I know we got a ways to go, but this is the unofficial midway point of the season. Just real quick, who are you guys having coming out of the East and the West?
Man, I've been teetering with this one for weeks.
For the matchup, I want 76ers Nuggets, but I'm gonna go Celtics Nuggets.
Yeah, I think I got Celtics Nuggets too. But believe it or not, despite the fact that Jokic is my MVP, I worry about the Nuggets pathway more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
For sure.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I also have the Celtics coming out of the West.
Okay.
The East. Sorry, the West is such a toss-up. Right?
It is.
Because I mentioned earlier that, like, and I know you kind of said it earlier too, TV. Like, I know the Lakers are 20. I'm just using this as a preference. Not saying the Lakers are going to come together, but like, I know the Lakers are 25 and 29, but they are 12 games out of first place. And if you look at the teams that are like in the top 5, like the Lakers right now are 5 games behind
the 4th seed.
The 4th seed.
Yeah. The 4th.
So, like, even though these teams like the Celtics, or I'm sorry, not so like the Lakers look like they're bad, and the Pelicans are like right at even, and so are the Warriors. Like, this conference is super, super, super tight, and it's really just it's really hard to kind of figure out who's going to come out. I feel like if I'm going gun to my head, I'm gonna pick the Nuggets, just because in my mind, I think our Western Conference Finals matchup this season is going to be Nuggets Mavericks. I think Jokic has just a little bit more around him compared to Luka. I don't know if Luka would be able to break down the Nuggets by himself in this series.
Kyrie.
I mean, it's possible, right? Like, I think he's capable of doing so, but like if Luka's going to get to the conference finals, he's going to go through two series of doing it all by himself. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it a third time. We saw last season he tried to do it a third time and it didn't work out. I think the same thing could happen to him again. So I do think the Nuggets are going to come out of the West, but I also think that maybe it doesn't have to be Kyrie, but like if the Mavericks make some type of move to kind of help,
I like that.
Yeah,
I do think the Mavericks could be a dark horse to make it all the way to the finals, to play the Celtics, because I think Luka has proven that he's that dude. I mean, we knew that already, but like especially in the playoffs, he just needs that person that he can rely on down the stretch of games, down the stretch of the series, is to kind of also kind of take on and make those big shots. Like that could be Kyrie, that could just be a bunch of role players that kind of are better than the role players they have now. But I agree. I'd love to see the Sixers and the Nuggets in the finals, because that would finally dead the narrative that Nikola Jokic is better than Joel Embiid, which is all I really care about, as we all knew from the middle segment of the show. Well, listen, I'm just here to push my anti-Jokic, and I'm here to push my anti-Jokic for MVP propaganda. I wouldn't be the man that I am if I sat here with a straight face and said I think Jokic is going to win. You just shouldn't. I don't care if you give it to Tyrese Halliburton, as long as it's not Jokic.
Okay. We have to end it there.
I just don't think Jokic should be the third person or the first person since Larry Bird to three-peat. I just don't
even Julius Randle.
Okay, well, no, that's Julius Randle doesn't deserve it. Julius Randle doesn't deserve it at all. I don't know. I'm just saying. Jokic is great, but like, Anyway, fellas, please let everybody know one final time where they can find your individual and collective content.
I'll go first. Okay. I've been here before. You've seen me. You can follow all my links: TV on Basketball, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all that good stuff. And starting this week, we're gonna be starting a new show very soon. Very excited about that. Jay, take it away. I'm just excited for that thing to start.
Yeah, man. Pretty much been everywhere in terms of social media. The Knockdown J is my main page where I do all my goofy stuff that involves me and TV doing daily picks challenge every single day, or at least we try to.
Yeah.
As well as some other side commentary. I also started a page on the side called The Routine Jumper, where I've been doing a small little podcast that started last week, and I plan on trying to build upon that. So Routine Jumper on Instagram, at the Knockdown J on Instagram, and then the collective page is the Hit Your Free Throw Pod. That's the one where starting next week, man, we are going to be locked in trying to do collaborative content on a longer form scale. Me and TV have been trying to kill it in social media. Now we're gonna give you guys clips. We're gonna give you guys full thoughts as opposed to just fragments. And the Hit Your Free Throw podcast, we're going to be doing some pretty interesting stuff with. So, like I said, that'll be on Instagram as well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I was mesmerized by Cam Thomas's 44 points that I was watching.
I literally just checked the box score and couldn't believe it.
The Wizards were up. The Wizards were up big too. So
yeah, they were down. They were up 23. They came back. Look, it is always a pleasure to have these two gentlemen on the show. I enjoy working with them. I also enjoy trolling them at every chance I get. One of these days, you two are going to start doing the challenges on TikTok that I'm tagging. Like, I know you see them.
Yes.
Oh my God, you're so right. I was just thinking about that earlier. We'll talk about this. We will talk about this off camera.
Challenges, you comment on the challenges. No, we're on camera. I'm calling you out on the last basketball episode of the season. You're gonna do them. You're not gonna keep having me look like
okay.
TV and you, and I'm getting nothing back.
Let me say this officially on the final basketball pod of this season. Then we are going to start actually Stitch responding to these. It's so funny that you bring this up, and you bring this up now particularly because I actually wanted to bring that up to you at some point. Before we either got off the recording or as soon as we got off, because I was just thinking about that earlier, because I think that as a collective, and me and TV even talked about this before before working towards starting our collaborative pod. I think one of the craziest things is that, and Marcus, you've been on a lot of shows as of recent too, between basketball and football. I think that we know way too many people within this content creation space that are big, small, or indifferent in terms of what their overall traction is on social media. And I think that is a huge thing for us to try to start working towards building a real community with this sports stuff, because I feel as though there's a lot of people that are really good at this stuff and really good at social media ideas in terms of that kind of content, for example, or even just the podcast topics that do really great work, that I think we should just start being more collaborative. And that was exactly something I was thinking about, was like, wow, he has been tagging the crap out of us about those. And I've been keeping tabs on them, but in terms of actually stitching them, we definitely got to start doing more work with Marcus as well.
I'm hyped for that. We'll maybe check out the next video. Who knows?
You know what I mean? I'm hyped for that.
It ain't happening. I make myself look crazy enough on the internet. I don't. Anyway, this was great. This is the last basketball episode of season 2. I know I keep saying it. We do have one more episode left of the season. That is next Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are previewing the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles will be playing in the Super Bowl next Sunday. And so I will have some of the best and the brightest football minds in the podcasting world on this show for the season finale of season 2 of Go Talk Markets. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you guys on the show. It looks right now like we will be back for April 1st, which is a WrestleMania preview. So there won't be an Elimination Chamber show this month, unfortunately. Depending on when the playoffs start, we may come a little bit early. It all depends on how basketball is looking. But it's been an absolute pleasure. I enjoy working with these gentlemen. Make sure you guys go follow them. Make sure you follow me, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, Twitch, at GTP Marcus. You can find the pod on every place: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio. I stream the episodes on Twitch, so you may be able to see them on Twitch. I also sometimes just casually stream random stuff on Twitch. Like I stream 2K on Twitch, I stream Madden on Twitch, I stream WWE on Twitch sometimes. So sometimes if you follow the Twitch, you might get a notification of me just randomly streaming at 2 o'clock in the morning, whatever it is that I'm doing. There's no audio, so you don't have to listen to my voice. It's just straight video of me playing whatever it is I'm playing. So that's also, and as I alluded to, make sure you guys follow me on TikTok. I'm going to try to tackle this TikTok game a little bit better than I have been in the past. It won't just be clips. It'll be much more interactive content like challenges and my tweets and things like that. Also follow me on Twitter because the Twitter fingers get hot around this time of year. You don't want to miss the things that I say, especially at 3 o'clock in the morning. That's usually when a lot of my Twitter thoughts come. So for TV and the Knockdown J, this of the soon to be debuting Hit Your Free Throws podcast. This is Marcus of Go Talk, Marcus signing off. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys tune in next week. And until then, enjoy the rest of your lives.